Welcome to this explainer. Today we're jumping right into a pretty wild and honestly darkly comedic excerpt from Passage English. We're going to follow a young guy's slightly hazardous quest for clean air in mid-century Bucharest. It's a fantastic look at quirky family dynamics, the vivid sensory histories of two completely different city markets, and, what happens when a tiny bit of scientific knowledge crashes headfirst into absolute desperation.
So think about this for a second. Imagine being trapped in an apartment where the cigarette smoke is so incredibly thick, it literally sinks right into the mattress you sleep on. I mean, how far would you go just to get one decent breath of fresh air? It's a basic human need, right? Well, for our main guy today, a young man in his early 20s named Lika, actually getting a breath of fresh air means heading out on a seriously absurd urban adventure.
To really get why Laika is so desperate, you gotta see what he's living with every single day. He shares a place with his mom, Leah, a Jewish woman who actually fled Jerusalem for Romania, and her longtime Roma partners Talika. The kids affectionately call him Shefu, which translates to the boss. And Shefu, he's the chief operator at a local cinema. Whenever he's home, he sits in the exact same chair, right in the middle of their room, just relentlessly chain-smoking cheap Plugarol and Naționali cigarettes. Now, since they only cost like 2 lei a pack, it doesn't really dent his wallet, but man, the source text makes it very clear it is doing an absolute number on his throat.
And this just perfectly paints a picture of this intensely suffocating space they're in. We're not just talking about a bad smell here. This smoke is a heavy physical presence. The tar from Shefu's endless cigarettes gets into absolutely everything. It soaks into the plush armchairs, the blankets, the tablecloths, and yes, it completely saturates the mattress in Lika's windowless bedroom. But here is the wonderfully ironic twist. Lika's mother, Leah, eventually starts smoking too, except she opts for a slightly more, let's say, refined brand called Carpats. And the reason why is fascinating. The text suggests it's a bit of a psychological trick. She's smoking a brand named after the Carpathian Mountains to kind of simulate the crisp, oxygenated air of a mountain resort. She's basically taking a virtual vacation right there in their tiny, cloudy apartment.
Well, you can probably guess Lika hits his breaking point. Driven by this natural, almost instinctual knack he has for physics and chemistry, he just decides enough is enough. He needs to get his hands on a machine that produces actual physical oxygen. He's got to save his family's lungs and honestly their oxygen-starved brains. And to find a miraculous gadget like that, he knows there is literally only one place to go: Bucharest's most famous, chaotic, sprawling flea market.
Destination: Obor Market, a history of commerce and executions.
So, Lika heads over to the legendary Tulsiuk, the flea market inside the massive Obor market. But here's the thing you need to know about Obor. It is not just some place to buy veggies. It has a super dark, layered history. Over a century ago, they actually had to move it from the Batiste neighborhood because the stench from slaughtered animals was literally suffocating the center of Bucharest. It eventually ended up on Calia Mușilor. But the craziest detail Lika remembers, something a local butcher told him, is that up until about 100 years prior, right on market days, criminals were publicly hanged right there amidst all the shoppers, wearing signs that detailed their crimes. Wild, right?
And this macabre little piece of trivia actually triggers a really powerful memory for Lika about his birthplace, Jerusalem. It draws this sharp, deeply cynical parallel in his mind. He starts comparing these hangings in the middle of the busy Obor crowds to the ancient crucifixions at Golgotha, just outside the bustling markets of Jerusalem, placed perfectly on a hill so all the terrified commoners could see. Lika has this philosophical moment in the text where he thinks, basically, there is nothing new in this human world we're so proud of. It's such a fascinating look at how human nature and public spectacle really do transcend time and geography.
A tale of two markets, Bucharest versus Jerusalem.
So this whole dark historical connection launches Lika into this incredibly vivid sensory journey. As he's wandering through the gritty reality of Bucharest's Obor, looking for his oxygen machine, he just can't stop contrasting it with his childhood memories of the Mahane Yehuda market, or the shuk, back in Jerusalem. And the differences? They are night and day. Obor is heavy, it's industrial, it's utilitarian. You've got pork products like kaltabush, zinc buckets, and rough laundry soap made from actual dog bones. But the shuk, in his memory, that was an absolute explosion for the senses. Refreshing mint lemonade, lamb kibba, fine Persian rugs, and pure gold jewelry. While Obor has basic 25 bani lollipops, the shuk was packed with intricate spinach pies and sweet rolls filled with cinnamon and chocolate.
As Lika pushes further through Obor, the sensory overload gets intense, and it's distinctly raw.
He walks past these long rows of shoe repairmen where the air just reeks of raw cowhide and acetone glue. There are vulcanization shops showing off terribly patched bicycle tires, and butchers displaying these half carcasses of pigs and goats on really sinister-looking hooks. He even notices women sitting unenthusiastically on flimsy three-legged stools trying to mend runs and stockings. It really paints a picture of a place defined by hard survival and heavy labor.
Now contrast all of that raw chaos with his memory of Jerusalem's shuk. In Lika's mind, the shuk was a place of incredible harmony. You had people of 4 distinct religions, Muslims, Jews, Christians, and Armenian Orthodox, just peacefully going about their daily hustle together. The text points out this really beautiful detail. Jewish residents would happily wait in line at Palestinian food stalls simply because the food was amazing, varied, and beautifully presented. It's this poignant memory of coexistence that totally clashes with the rough-and-tumble vibe of a bore.
The hustle and the science. Acquiring the oxygen.
All right, back to the mission at hand. After chugging 3 glasses of this local sweet, fermented drink called Braga just to survive the sweltering heat, Lika finally spots it, exactly what he came to the flea market for. He runs into this fast-talking street kid who is peddling a highly suspicious-looking tin box with a wire hanging out of it. The kid is practically singing his pitch in rhyme, shouting that if you fill this thing with water, it produces pure oxygen. Yeah, he misspells and mispronounces it. That's going to cure your headaches, give you energy, and make your room smell like a spring mountain. Lika takes one look and knows instantly this kid definitely stole the contraption from some school's science lab. So, the kid's opening bid for this miraculous oxygen machine is 100 lei, but Lika, he is sharp. He completely lowballs the kid and counters with a mere 10 lei. The kid, who's clearly hungry and probably desperate to dump stolen goods before the cops show up, instantly snatches that 10 lei bill and vanishes into the market crowd like a ghost. Just like that, Lika has his machine.
Now, walking back to the tram, Lika starts mentally justifying this incredibly shady purchase by leaning on the actual science. He knows his chemistry. He figures this tin box contains a tank with 2 electrodes. If you plug it in and run an electric current through the water, you kick off a process called electrolysis. And electrolysis, as any high school chemistry student knows, definitely splits water to produce fresh oxygen. Lika is absolutely thrilled. His master plan to save his family from the cigarette smoke makes perfect scientific sense. But oh man, here is where the comedic irony of this whole explainer absolutely peaks. While Lika is busy patting himself on the back for finding a brilliant, cheap way to generate fresh oxygen for his mom and stepdad, he completely, and I mean wonderfully, forgets about the other byproduct of splitting H2O. When you create oxygen through electrolysis, you are simultaneously pumping the room full of the other element, hydrogen gas. Highly flammable hydrogen gas.
So, I'm going to leave you with this rather explosive final thought as we wrap up this explainer. Lika is happily riding the tram back home, clutching this bootleg hydrogen generator that he fully intends to plug in right next to the bed. What exactly do you think is going to happen when he introduces a steady stream of highly combustible hydrogen gas into a tiny, unventilated apartment that is completely filled with his stepfather's endlessly lit cigarettes? It is a total recipe for disaster born entirely out of the best intentions. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through mid-century Bucharest, and hey, remember to always double-check your chemistry before you try to freshen up a room.